Good morning and welcome to another episode of Unscripted and Unchained RPG Review. I am DM Bloodworth, and as you can see by the graphics, I am going to be talking once again about steps that we might take to move away from and beyond Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast's D&D. And I'm talking about the brand more so than the game D&D. I'm talking about the course and direction that Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast have for their brand, and then the impact that that potentially has on the broader hobby, the tabletop role play game hobby. So, what I am suggesting is that no matter what segment of the tabletop role playing hobby that you see yourself in, whether you're an OSR player, an independent player, um, if you're a 5e player, if you're a Dungeons and Dragons traditionalist, if you're somebody who has never played, never liked Dungeons and Dragons, um, if you're someone who is willing to move forward and follow Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro no matter where they look to take gaming. All of us have a stake in what has transpired over these last 3 weeks, and I think it's time that we, as an overall community, start to realize that having one so very dominant corporation and with a dominant IP is not overall healthy for the tabletop role playing hobby in general. And so, my suggestion is that despite the recent, quote unquote, win that the various groups have achieved against Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro, as far as the OGL 1.0A being left untouched. All right. Untouched does not mean irrevocable. They chose not to use that term on purpose. And I know a lot of people might have the inclination of saying, well, we're going to trust their word for it, but verify later. That doesn't work. All right. That doesn't work in my opinion because there is no trust there. What would you base that trust on? Um, so it's it's more hope and verify, um, or verify and then with evidence, then maybe they have that intention of leaving it alone. But I don't see how any of the other segments of the hobby can look at what has transpired as a positive in relation to how we should look at Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast. For those that say, well, if you don't support Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast, you're not a true D&D player, or you're looking to destroy the D&D game and its legacy and its, I mean, that's just utter nonsense. I would pose to those very, very few individuals, if not even just one, um, if you're more concerned as a hobbyist for the logo D&D than you are for the game, its legacy, and the communities that are built up around it. If you're more concerned about just the logo, how cheaply are you selling your dedication? I don't care what company carries the logo. I don't need the D&D on the book to get the the game system and its vision and its essence of actually running or playing uh, in that tabletop role playing environment. And I don't need the logo to get all of that. I don't need the logo for me to say, this is the game system and the again the essence and vision of what it means to participate in a role playing experience. I don't need the logo for that, and so I think for too long the hobby has been leaning on this logo to carry us through, and Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro, but primarily Wizards of the Coast, has relied too much on third party creators, uh, carrying them, forward through their, rough times and their droughts of creativity, um, and innovation to continue moving the game of Dungeons and Dragons forward. So, at this point, I think that probably that the true benefit that has come out of all of this past 3 weeks of just contention and pushback and rallying cries for various things, whether it be to join this 1500 plus orc license, uh, kind of thing, or to just break out on your own. I think the positive of it is that a large number of people, probably the majority, have realized that for the hobby, tying ourselves to just one corporation, just one game publisher, and quite frankly, just one game system is not overall healthy for the hobby. And so it is good to see the number of it's good to see the number of games publishers say, you know what, we're going to create our own OGL. We're going to create our own guidelines for third party publishing, and we are going to separate ourselves almost completely, even from the SRD, let alone the old OGLs that many either suddenly realized they didn't need to begin with, or it would be very easy for them to, move away from. And so I think that is the best thing to preserve and protect the tabletop RPG hobby, is to is to go beyond what Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast are offering. Because make no mistake about it, by not making the 1.0A OGL irrevocable, they're leaving the door open for them to come back after the movie releases, and come back and say, well, now we're revoking it, and then send everybody back into the same scramble that they've been doing now. So and the other point I want to make is that no one is telling you, other than Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro, if you are a 5e player, that you can't continue to play 5e as you always have been. The only entity that is looking to take away that ability is Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast. They want to force the 5e community of players, which is large, to make the choice you either move forward to 6.0 or 1 D&D or their tabletop I'm sorry, not tabletop, virtual tabletop slash video game by 2024, or they are going to leave you in a desolate land of no new content. No 5e content is going to come out of Wizards of the Coast uh, post 2023. None of the content that they create during this year, 2023, is going to be supported beyond that. They are going to shift everything to 6th edition, 1 D&D, VTT slash video game, whatever it's ultimately going to be called. They want to shift everybody to that and leave everyone else that doesn't move high and dry. And that's their intention. And I would expect that they are going to make another attempt to deauthorize 1.0A after the movie has cleared its way through the theater. So whether or not you're going to go see the movie is really entirely up to you. um and we'll see who is proven right in the very short run, because I honestly believe that they're going to go right back on this OGL um, conquest that they're looking to perform. And I fully expect that they have already calculated now for the number of losses that they would likely suffer, and they're fine with that. What they're not fine with is the timing of all of this happening. They're not fine with the fact that the movie release is just 2 months away, and this was really, really poorly timed. They were not happy with the fact that the 1.1 leak came out prior to January 13th, the implementation day of 1.1, the date that they were looking to drop it and then say, oh, by the way, this is effective immediately, and then move forward with their scorched earth policy against primarily the 5e community. And it was primarily the 5e community that spoke up over this. That's something that I want people to truly understand and appreciate, is that it was the big YouTube channels that have been supporters of 5e from the very beginning. And these are big YouTube channels. I'm talking about ones with 70,000 plus, 100,000 plus, 400,000 plus subscribers that came out and said, wait a second, um, this is not just cutting into my own ability to produce content for D&D 5e, but it really is an attack on the entire tabletop role playing game hobby. All right, as a whole, it impacts all of us. All right, and that is, a very, very important point. So, whomever it was that leaked that out of, whether it be D&D Beyond staff or Wizards of the Coast, some content creator there that was, you know, knew about the 1.1, had the full version of the 1.1, and then leaked that. I mean, that person really did more for the tabletop role playing hobby than I can think any creator has in 40 years. I think it's just that individual literally saved the hobby, And so if that person is ever revealed, that person should be recognized as a protector and preserver of the tabletop role playing hobby. Um, Now, for those that are going to run back to the WotC and Hasbro banner of the D&D logo, and the game system and the hobby be damned, um, listen, you're welcome to do so. But again, like I say, you're selling your dedication very cheaply, and you're not a true champion of the hobby, or even the, the legacy of Dungeons and Dragons, and the inspiration of Dungeons and Dragons, the vision of Dungeons and Dragons, and the essence of what that game actually has built into it. Just a means of people to escape, and just experience something that they themselves couldn't possibly experience. And so, I'm going to leave it at that. I am going to wait until um, there is any, future announcement of where Wizards of the Coast, and Hasbro realize that without the term irrevocable being attached to the OGL 1.0A, then it's still a deal breaker. And I personally, even though I had no intentions of buying any physical copies or anything from Wizards of the Coast to begin with, um, I was looking forward to seeing the movie because it does release on my birthday, and that won't happen without a new announcement that Irrevocable is going to be attached to 1.0A. And I won't buy it on DVD or Blu-ray when that becomes available. I probably won't ever see that movie until it appears on a streaming service that I'm already paying for. But I won't give an additional penny to Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast for so long as they maintain their um, their scorched earth policy against the tabletop role playing hobby. So I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you for joining. As always, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, disagreement, feel free to come into the comments section and disagree. Or even better, give me support and say, hey, I agree with you 100%, and this is why. Um, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing, and be on the lookout for more positive content coming out. I'm doing my series on painting figures for the first time in 40 years. I'm running my campaigns and everything, and don't let all of this, and I will leave off on this point. Continue playing the games that you love, regardless of what game it is, and don't let anybody tell you that you cannot purchase, you know, you cannot purchase a game that you enjoy, run a game that you enjoy, play a game that you enjoy. No one is telling you you can't do that, with the exception of Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast. Just keep that in mind, that there is only one scorched earth, plan carrier here, and it is not the OSR, the L, and the other communities, the independent or the 5e community player that has had enough with the corporate model of Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast. So, again, thanks for joining. Look forward to seeing you on a gaming screen sometime soon, or possibly in person at at an upcoming conventions that I intend to plan. I intend to go to, and as always, just keep those dice rolling. Take care.